We're speaking to Miss Lynda Woolf this morning. She is an internationally renowned psychic medium and she's based in Singapore. Good morning, Lynda. Thank you so much for speaking to us on the Light Breakfast.
Good morning. It's my pleasure. I'm really happy to be doing this.
Now, tell us about you, Lynda. You recently shared with us that you've celebrated 25 years now in Singapore. You've been in Singapore for 25 years now. How did you end up so far from home? You're born and raised in America.
Literally Hollywood on the sets in the studios.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So life being what life is, I moved away from Hollywood. I moved to Northern California. I lived at Lake Tahoe. I had a client in San Francisco, and she asked me if I would like to go to Hong Kong to work. So I said, sure. Now, I'd never been outside of the States, right?
Did you even have a passport?
I had to go get one.
Right.
Okay.
So.
At what age was this when you left home?
Well, the first time, this is very funny. It's a huge digression. The first time I tried to leave home, I was 4.
4?
I packed my bag and took my piggy bank.
Oh my God.
And my mother stood out there with her arms crossed. But I was in my 30s, early 30s, late 20s. And so she said, do you want to go to Hong Kong? And I said, sure. And obviously at that time, Hong Kong was still British.
Yep.
And so I think it was in 90 or 91 when I went. And I just, as soon as I got there, felt like I had returned home.
Oh.
So Asia for me is spiritually and philosophically home. I love America. I love American people. Their philosophy and my philosophy are very different. And so I commuted back and forth from California to Hong Kong for a while. And then she shifted from Hong Kong to Singapore. And she opened up a shop in Lido, which most people today know as Shaw Center.
Yeah.
Right? And so I started working out of her shop. And gradually I just decided that I wasn't going to return back to the States. And I just found a home here, and I've been here ever since. And, I'm really grateful to Pauline for having unknowingly provided me with a new home that I really resonated with. So I've been here since 1996.
And you married someone local? No?
No, I shifted over after my divorce. So all these years, I am here as a single woman. And now, okay, are you ready to be really shocked?
Okay.
I legally adopted my number 1 great grandson.
You adopt? Really?
Great grandson.
Great grandson. So he's
So it's your
my
grandchild's
yes, my number 1 son's number 1's daughter, number 1 son.
Wow.
So they're all ones. Yeah, and so he's now 15, and he's never lived anywhere but Singapore.
Right.
The other night he's walking through the house, he says to me, Mom, I cringed. Mom, my psychic stuff is driving me crazy.
So he has the psychic ability as well.
It runs in the family.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Now tell us about your psychic ability. Like, when did you discover that you had the ability to see into the past and predict the future?
When I remember as a young girl, like 4, 5, 6 years old.
Oh, that young. Okay.
Yeah. I remember already being able to connect with, in quotes, others. Right. But within my mother's family, all the women had psychic ability, greater or lesser degrees. And so I guess I was the lucky one. But in order for me to really realize the fullness of that, I needed to go through being traditional, getting married, having children, doing all of the things that are expected of us as women, right? And then I became acutely aware of the differences between my husband and myself. And the differences were that he was, and still is, very pragmatic, very analytical, very focused on business, very driven, what men are supposed to be, right? Then there's me. And I've always been this really, really spiritual woman. And at one point, I decided that I needed to study philosophy. So I must have been in my late 20s at that point, early 30s, somewhere right around there. And I studied the 7 great religions, and I studied Eastern philosophy. And the more I worked with that knowledge, and the more open I became, the more I understood I couldn't be married. Because I couldn't serve 2 things at one time. Right. And so, as a lot of people don't understand a spiritual path, my ex-husband couldn't understand it at all. And so I went my own way. So the way that I got to do this was I decided nothing I do is normal. I'm a very wonky woman and I don't do anything normal. And so I decided to open up a shop, a beauty shop. And throughout the course of working with my clients, they would come back to me and they would say, do you remember you told me such and such, and it happened? So for me, the course of normal conversation, just talking with people, is how I see.
Right.
Wow. But I'm curious to know how in what form your predictions comes to you. Like, do you see pictures, you hear words when you start conversing with people?
Mostly it's just knowledge.
What does that mean?
Or just comes to you?
It's in my head. Okay, JD, I'm going to ask you this stupid, silly question I ask everybody.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I am.
Okay.
I am, because I'm cheeky and it gets people to relax.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So what is your Western star sign and your Chinese horoscope?
Aries and Snake.
I can't talk to you anymore, dude.
What?
So that makes you a ram who's never wrong and crawls on his belly.
Oh my goodness.
But here's so what happens with that is, my phone's on and I don't know where it is. I can't turn it off. Never mind.
No worries.
What happens with that is people let go and relax. And so this is what I know about you. Since you were this big, You always had to be a showman. You always had to be the center of attention. You were smarter than the average person. You were really stubborn about getting the work done. If you could have, you would have talked back to your mother, but you were afraid to.
Didn't stop him.
Oh my God, that's
No,
hilarious.
it didn't.
No, I didn't. No, yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's how that works.
All right.
Interesting. So
That's
just with that
hilarious.
little information, you get the
What happened? That
The ball
information
rolling.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't tell me anything. It just allows people to relax, so that. Okay, so my belief is this. God, I haven't said this in like 5,000 donkey years. Okay. There's this big book up there that's written. Everything that was, everything that is, and everything that ever will be is all written. So some call it the Akashic Record, some call it whatever, right? So the only thing that I could figure out is maybe I tap into that. All I know is, so she's going to shoot me. It's her turn. You have this big bridge to cross next year, and it's a really hard decision for you. And so, oh my God, it makes me so nervous. So you really need, I'll explain it, to do a body check before you take the decision, right? So what that means to me in my language is, are you really excited and you want to go forward? That's your first reaction. Second reaction is, oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I should do it. So here's the question. I'll give you the answer after I ask the question. What do you think you should do? How would you know what decision to take?
I don't. Oh man, you're
Right.
asking me this question right
Right.
now.
Awesome.
So here's, I'll give you the answer. Your very first instinct is always your answer. So
Okay.
instinct, I'm going to digress. When men were out killing mastodons, they had to follow their instinct, right? So it had all this information filled in. Oh my gosh, there's predators. I can't be out here too long. I have to kill this so the family can eat, blah, blah, blah. So as humans grew and became more intelligent, instinct came down because then they used their brain instead of their instinct, right? As we moved into boxes, instinct fundamentally went to sleep. The average person does not listen to their instinct. So for me, I'm totally about my instinct. It's just all the information is filled in.
Right. Okay.
Got it. It's the easiest way I know to explain it.
Okay.
Okay.
So for us,
All right.
we all have blanks, like we have missing pieces. So you just managed to piece it all together.
Right. But for the average person, they don't listen to what they know. They second guess it, they analyze it, they pragmatize it, whatever it is that they do, they don't listen to what they know is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
So basically, listen to your heart.
No,
to your
listen to
instinct.
your right.
Mm.
See, that was
But I guess-
typical of him. He's such an emotional. He likes people to think he isn't, but he is.
No, but I guess a lot of times people think, like nowadays, because like you said, we've shut down the instinct and all that, people think that all this is just fake. It's hocus pocus, you know. how do you prove that what you can do is real? It's a true ability.
See, my personality says I don't have to prove anything to you. Either you believe or you don't believe. So if someone comes to me and they're testing me and they won't let the wall down, I can't do it. Right? So through many years of, in the States, for me in particular, being psychic was like horrible.
Why?
Because people think that it's all a sham, right? And so I really had to work hard to prove that what I do is viable and valuable. And so once I started working on TV, and once I started solving mysteries, and once I became a part of that Hollywood crowd, then I became acceptable and viable. Right? Because I was a celebrity. For me, it was a shoe that was really uncomfortable on my foot, because my passion is to help people. So if I had $100 million, I wouldn't charge any money. The gods looked at me and said, we're not giving you that much money. Right? but like a gentleman came to see me the other day. I'm such a softie. And he was going through all these family problems and work, and finding work in Singapore is really tough right now. And so we spent our time together, and at the end, I couldn't take any money from him. I couldn't do it, right? God has really blessed me. Do I have tons of money? No. Do I have enough to say, you're struggling, I can't take your money? Yeah, I do, for sure. So I'm not about the money. I love money. I adore money. And I love Takashimaya, don't get me wrong.
Now, Lynda, earlier you said that you've actually been able to help solve cases, unsolved mysteries and all that with your abilities. What was that experience like? I mean, can you share with us a case that you've helped solve, maybe?
I'll share two. One, the very first one, I was still living at Lake Tahoe. So Lake Tahoe, the base where the lake is in the base of the mountains is 6,400 feet.
Okay.
So the lake is 26 miles around, 13 miles across. Okay. So
huge
it's huge.
Lake. Yeah.
It's huge. And there was this murder that had taken place of this young man. And somebody asked me if I would help them to solve the case. So I said, sure. So I went to the locality of where this person had been murdered. In order for me to find the details of what had occurred, I had to put myself in that person's position. And so what had happened had been that they had kidnapped, captured, whatever, him, and they drugged him and they put him in a room until nighttime. And late in the evening, they stood him up in the middle of the road, got in a car and ran him down. I know, it was horrible. And I had to go through what he experienced in order to see what had occurred. So I had to be him.
Like physically, you felt all
Correct.
that.
Correct. Yeah.
Would you say that his spirit possessed you in that instant, or
No, not at all. No. I just
Okay.
had to put myself in his place. So let's say, for example, you're in a film, you're an actress, and you're in this film and you need to become that character's part, right? You have to play that character. In order for you to play that character, you need to become that character. So in order for me to solve that mystery, I had to become that man. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So did
Wow.
did it figure out who it was who did it?
In that one, I have to remember. No, they didn't.
Oh no, so it's still unsolved.
Still unsolved. All they asked me was what happened. They didn't ask
happened?
me who did it. So the second case was a very well-known case. This girl was kidnapped from the lake. And so I had to go through that same process of figuring out where she was. She was young at the time. And what happened, how it occurred, blah, blah, blah. And so I went through this whole process with the FBI and the police. And I told them where she had been kidnapped, what the car looked like, what the perpetrators looked like. And so it was this whole long process. And I was completely convinced that her stepfather had orchestrated this.
Right.
So as things went along, I said to my friend, I know where she is. So we were driving to find this girl. And we stopped in a bar. We'd been driving for about an hour to get a drink, not alcohol.
Okay.
And I got this overwhelming feeling of, we have to go back. We have to go back. So I got back home. I'm home like 20 minutes and I get a phone call. If you do not stop and desist, we will do the same thing to your sons that has happened to this girl.
Who called you?
I said I dropped the case.
Did you know who called?
It was the perp. Actually, at the time, I thought it was the girl's father.
Okay.
But I can't say that it was.
Right.
Right.
So they didn't trace the call and stuff?
Nope.
Wow.
No.
Man.
At that point, I said, okay, I'm not going any further and I'm not putting my family in jeopardy.
Yeah, but you were getting close then.
Right. So the girl was found later. They had kidnapped her. They locked her in a shed and they kept her there over 20 years.
But they found her.
They found her, and it was exactly where I was heading to, right? It was the same town that I was going to. But obviously, and I believe this wholeheartedly, her karma was her karma, and it wasn't mine to interrupt.
Okay.
Okay.
You
Right.
understand?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. But I mean, the police, the FBI and all that, do they believe that you have this ability and
Absolutely.
did they believe you when you tell them these information?
Absolutely. So I had worked on other cases with police and FBI, and we had come to resolutions, right? That were satisfying. that resolved the issue of where these people are or how these killings occurred.
Mm-mm.
Right? But you're not going to think this is funny. I thought it was hilarious. My funniest story was a sheriff from a small county in Nevada asked me to come and solve something. So I said, okay, fine. I go to this small town in Nevada. And we go around and I tell him what happened. I show him the house and I describe the person, blah, blah, blah. He says, you have to know that information. I said, I don't know that information. So he takes me to the sheriff's office on a Saturday. Everything is closed. He puts me in an interrogation room. He goes behind the mirror in the room behind, turns on a camera, comes back in the room with all these boxes of all these cases. And he starts pulling out cases, and I'm answering him before he can pull the files out. And finally, he just closed the box. He said, okay, that's it. And he was done because he couldn't figure out how I could do it.
Right.
And I cannot tell you how I can do it.
Yeah. Because you just can't.
I just can't. I just can't.
Wow. I'm not telling you anything about me.
Well, she already knows. So.
I said, all I will say about you.
Now, Lynda, interesting question. Do all psychics have the ability to communicate with the departed or to communicate with the spirit world?
Can I take the fifth on that? No.
No. Okay.
Can you?
No. I can't. Can I communicate with them? Yeah. Do I choose to? No. Can I find people that have gone missing? 8 times out of 10, yes. So, but when someone is passed over, can I communicate with them? Yeah. If someone comes to me and they say so-and-so passed over and it's not resolved, it's unclosed, I'm not at peace, can you help me? I will do that. But if somebody comes and they just want to know willy-nilly about somebody and something, I will not do that.
Right. So these spirits have come to you.
Does it take a lot?
What?
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay, you ask first.
So these spirits have come to you in the past and you have communicated with them.
Yes. So to clarify that, I really need to explain my own theory on this. It's only my theory. We know scientifically that in our composition, we have electricity. That's a science.
Right.
Yeah.
We know scientifically you cannot destroy electricity, right? So when a soul passes, that electricity still resides within that soul. You can't kill it. It still exists, right?
Right.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So if that be true, then the capability and the probability of being able to communicate exists. It's just that that's in a different form.
Right. Okay. I like
Got
that. Scientific.
Scientific, right?
Yeah.
So like, I really hate to say this on air, but I'll say it. My eldest son passed 5 years ago.
Oh, so sorry.
Thank you, me too. And every now and again, I'll see him go through the house. I know.
Wow.
I know. Or my 15-year-old, oh my God. If I didn't believe in reincarnation, I do now. I can't believe I'm doing him all over again. But
Like the father. Yeah.
like the father, exactly like the father. But what I do is so in my belief, in my religion, this is what we're taught. I don't know if it's a religious thing. In my family, this is what I'm taught. If you don't talk to people who have passed over, they're gone.
Okay.
They're dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always talk to everybody who has passed over that, that was close to me. And I always get an answer. Okay, 9 times out of 10, I get an answer. So the answer comes not in verbalization. It comes in emotions. Do this, don't do that. A sense of, I'm not alone, right? Have you never walked into a room and thought, I'm not alone? Or thought, oh, there's something in this room, I'm uncomfortable, I don't know what it is. Or, oh, I'm really happy being in this room.
Yeah. I
Right.
got that recently because I'm going house hunting. And I went into a place and I'm like, oh, this place doesn't fit well with me. So I just walked out. It was like 5 minutes. I don't know why, but
That's why.
my wife had a
It's
look on her
the
face.
Chi. It's the chi,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Or there are just souls that haven't passed on. In that sense, I'm very Asian.
All right. Because you can.
But why do you think, like, I know you said your theory was that it's the electricity of that soul that still remains, but why do you think there's spirits that still lingers on Earth?
I think that they just got lost. I think that they weren't, either they weren't prepared or they weren't ready, or they hadn't completed their lessons, or they were just stuck. Just stuck, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever I would go clear a house, I would always make sure that soul was caretaken so that they could move on. So here's the interesting thing. When I clear houses, when I used to clear, I've stopped doing it, in Singapore, I would go in and I would do the jaws and I would do the chanting and I would do all of that stuff and the candles and everything. Always, when I was done, I would ask the people, you're going to think I'm wonky, to repeat the 91st Psalm.
Okay.
In the Bible.
In the Bible. In the old Bible, right? The 91st Psalm. Just to make sure everything was blessed and all bases were covered, right? So if I clear my house a lot. So I do jaw stick and chanting.
Okay. So it's non-verbal communication.
It's non-verbal.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. But can you tell us about a case where you've handled where you've actually helped someone by communicating with a spirit that's been disturbing that person, probably?
That's been disturbing them?
Or just
I've had
lingering
several
around them.
where spirits are lingering. Usually what happens with that, so this is foolish of me, assuming that almost everything in Singapore is built on cemeteries.
That's quite true.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or former cemeteries, they would.
Former,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So like Takashimaya probably is the biggest one, right?
Really?
Takashimaya is built on a cemetery.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I
Okay.
will never go to Takashima.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had some friends who lived out in Old Black and White behind the Polo Club. I can't remember the name of the street, but at that point, a lot of the Japanese stayed in those black and whites during the war.
Hmm.
And so they asked me to please come and clear the house. I don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't speak Bahasa. I don't speak Mandarin. So what happened was, and he had his helper show me this. The tiles were black and white tiles, those big squares.
Yeah. The classic colonial ones, right?
Correct. And so they would always see these footprints on the tiles. So in order to demonstrate that, they had the helper come wipe the floor. The floor dried, and there were the footprints. Okay. And so, and these two gentlemen, were expats, right?
Right.
And so they were really freaked out.
I'm sure.
So freaked out. So I had to figure out who was leaving the footprints, right? And so what had happened had been that a Japanese lieutenant and his officers had taken over this house. The family had hidden in a room under the staircase. You know how they have they're little teeny tiny closets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they had hidden there. And I never would have looked to see if they were there or not, had they not communicated with me that they really needed to have that door open so that they could go free.
Mm.
I lost my track. Did you ask me, have I ever communicated with them, which was why I took you to that family?
No, we asked you about a case that you've helped.
Okay. So that one in particular. But what I do in those cases is I make sure that the people who are living in the house take part in the clearing of the house, right? But I forgot to tell them, this was a major or not so major thing. Once you clear the house and the chi goes back to itself, everything changes, right? Which is what happened. So 6 months later, they left Singapore.
Oh, right.
I
Because
know.
it didn't work for them anymore.
Right, exactly. It cleared everything out. Maybe part of their purpose was to get to that house to be able to clear the house. But the interesting thing about it was, and I love this part of it, they have the biggest, oldest banyan tree in their front yard. And when you go out and you look in the banyan tree, you can see all of the ghosts living in it.
Wait, what do you mean you can see all the ghosts?
Well, I could see them. I assumed that they could too.
Oh my God.
Do you not get scared now, like seeing ghosts and spirits?
What are they
No?
doing, just hanging out?
Well, where are they going to go? Nobody helps them across. And so a lot in Singapore, a lot of those ghosts are left over from the war, and it's never been cleared out. You know, there's never been anything or anyone that's helped them across so they can find their peace.
So generally though, I always have this feeling that there are things looking at me from trees. So chances are there are things.
Precisely.
Okay. I don't
They
know how
were
I feel
really
about that.
happy that. But here's the thing. A ghost cannot physically harm a human being. It is impossible.
Are you sure about that?
10,000 million, 100%.
They can
That is-
possess you, right? No?
No.
Ah.
If you believe that you can assume the energy of that spirit, you can.
Okay.
Right? So,
Okay.
what
So
was
their
it?
intention is not to harm you at all. They're just going about their daily life.
For most of them, yes. But I think it was like 4 months ago, I posted a video of one of the TV shows,
Oh, okay.
right? And it was like this ghost hunting thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was it called? Something Thunderbird Lodge. Well, I can't remember. Thunderbird Lodge, something. So anyway, we're working down at the boathouse, which is covered, and you have to walk through this long, cold stone tunnel. So we do this thing, and I had to get out of there. I had to leave that area. So I'm leaving, and the camera crew is following me. And next thing I know, I feel these hands grabbing me and trying to pull me back into the boat room, into the wake. And first time it ever happened to me, I screamed so loud and I jumped and did this dance. Look at your face.
So they can
It's
harm
not
you.
funny, Lynda. They
How
can
can they
grab
harm
you.
He grabbed me, but he couldn't pull me. He grabbed me, right? And I just wasn't expecting it. It was like, oh, da bien.
Right.
Right. That wasn't the word I used there.
Right. Oh my God.
Okay.
And-
Was that
and
one
I-
of your most terrifying experiences? One of your most...
It really, really startled me.
Okay.
But as soon as it was over, then I went, oh, that's what it was. Because I always go to my logic, my pragmatics, right? If I give power to that, if I give power to the paranormal, that it can do me harm, it can, because I believe it. Got it?
Yeah. So that's why they say, don't fear it if they have no power over you, then you're stronger than they are.
Right.
But they keep freaking us out and then coming out of the corners and everything. How can I not be scared?
Because they don't have substance, do they?
Right.
Right? So what they can do is mess with your mind.
Yeah.
Not your physical.
It's
They
always a
can mess
boo.
with your emotional, but not your physical. A
Right.
ghost cannot come and kill you.
Okay. But I'll never look
But
at
you
trees the
can't
same
do
way
that
ever
to
again.
yourself, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can be scared to death. It's
Yeah.
documented, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know.
Are you able to share with us like one of your most terrifying experiences with the spirit realm besides this one where this
You
one
know,
came up and grabbed you?
I think that that's probably it, because my thought processes are always positive. I believe absolutely in good. I don't have the scariest. What would be this? You know, the scariest has always been human beings, right? Working with not normal people. But have you ever heard of Ted Bundy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, the serial killer, right?
What? You broke up
He's
there.
He's the
Even-
serial
yes.
killer. Yeah.
Yes, so the public doesn't know this. He killed, they have documented 300, it's either 65 or 85 people across the United States.
Mhm.
And working on that case was terrifying.
Oh, you worked on that case?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely terrifying. So it's the people who scare me. It's not the ghosts. I have met some really, really, really terrifying people. And so at that juncture, I had to really look at my own philosophy and change my perceptions so that I didn't and I don't attract those negative energies.
Right.
Do these evil people turn out to become evil spirits as well?
Most likely. Because they haven't, for me, it's only my belief. I mean, we don't know absolutely,
Yeah.
do we?
Yeah.
But I believe that they're so lost that they can't find their way back to the light. And that's an issue. And so reincarnation dictates, karma dictates that we keep repeating the lesson until we learn it. Right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I know this is, I'm not going to mention any names because it would be totally incorrect. But we know in the 30s and the 40s, we had this horrible, horrible, horrible example of evil
Mhm.
in Europe,
Yeah.
right? And we know in the 2000s, we have this horrible, horrible example of evil in the you know where now.
Hmm.
And that person, both of those men, so what they knew about Hitler was that he really was mentally disturbed, and he did all kinds of hallucinogenics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What we know about this person today is just that he's emotionally and mentally disturbed. He's not mentally well on any level, and he's not spiritually well on any level. But those people, those souls, have to come back time and again until they learn the lesson. Right? So,
And what if they don't? If they never learn the lesson, then they'll have to come back again and again until they learn their lesson.
They are doomed to repeat. So for me, that would be hell, wouldn't it?
True.
Right?
True.
Just the same thing. I think Rod Serling in one of his shows had that, where you just continually repeated the same thing over and over and over again. Right? So I believe absolutely that it takes a human being to say, I made a mistake, I need to correct my errors. The gender doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
Right? So
Now, Lynda, one question, like, how does healing come from knowing about our future? How can we heal from being able to see into the future?
choices. So if you come to me and you say to me, oh my gosh, Lynda, I have this stiff neck and it just won't go away. I've been to physio, I've been to osteo, I've been to orthopedic, I've been to blah, blah, blah. The issue, usually, if it is not muscular, is you're holding on to something that keeps you inflexible. So what I look for is, what are those issues and how can you let go and become more functional? So can I tell you what that is and how to do that? Yes. It's up to you to take the action. Got it?
Okay. Yeah, got it. What would you say then to all these non-believers and skeptics of your industry and of the spirit realm? Like, they don't believe that all this is true. They don't believe any of this can help them. What would you say to these people?
Educate yourself. You know, I think that I believe in allegories.
What?
Allegories really help us to understand that story, the potential, the right and the wrong, and the action, more than did the Red Sea really open?
Right.
Right? But the Red Sea opening is an allegory of a people allowing themselves to run away from those confinements and restrictions, enslavements, even though they were being chased, right? So what did the chaser learn? What did the chaser learn? There was
that
a
they
lesson,
shouldn't enslave people. Yeah.
Right, exactly. There's a lesson on both sides, isn't there? And so that's what I believe. So I think that people are afraid to investigate that because it goes against their belief system. Right? And there are just some people who are so concrete in that belief system that they cannot live their lives and be free.
Actually, Lynda, you're one of the few psychics in the world who can actually do virtual readings for your clients. How do you do virtual readings? Don't you have to be face to face with that person to be able to
or touching
read
someone?
them?
A third of my clients, minimum a third, live outside Singapore. And so we do virtuals all the time. Otherwise, how would I know how stubborn he is? Oh, and how sensitive you are. Oh my God, honey. Ooh.
Are you able to do?
Wait, I'm going to say.
Okay, are you able to give us a quick advice then for our future? Just one. If there's one advice that you give JD and I after being able to read us for the past half an hour or so.
What would I tell the two of you? I don't know why I'm going to say this. Regard your careers and how you're promoting yourself. You're not organized properly. And so what that means to me is not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's, you could be a lot more dynamic. You could be, you could capture a greater audience instead of not so great an audience. You know, you guys are really awesome in what you do, and what you need to understand about both of you is that your gifts are connecting to people. So you take that as norm, correct?
Yeah.
You don't think about it. That's how I function, right? So that's what you want to prioritize. You want people to look and go, wow, I love that show. That's something they did that I really relate to, and I really want to follow them, right? So I'm looking at the two of you and what you're doing going forward over the next 5, 6, 7 years. And you should, with proper game plan, be able to expand your careers exponentially.
Wow.
If you want to.
And you earlier on, you said you had an answer for me.
Oh, shucks. What were we talking about?
Well, I actually already have that answer in me.
This
I already
is
know what it is.
This is what I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, girl. Did you watch the movie, the cartoon Brave? It's that
I
animated
have.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have.
the mom
watched
turns
it
into a
before,
bear.
yes.
You
Yeah.
have that same capability of that young girl. Use it. So I don't want to say anything else because we're on air.
Okay. How about JD?
No, I'm fine. I know I crawl on my belly and I'm very stubborn.
You know, the reason that you're stubborn is because you have to be the softest, kindest, most caring man on the planet. And then you have to put your mask on that gives you that manly man thing so that nobody knows how kind and soft you really are.
Me? Kind?
Uh-huh. See, that was the answer. Conversely, we have this gorgeous woman who has the ability to slice and dice in a second and a half. Uh-oh. You do though, don't you? But
I don't
I
know
think-
though. Yeah.
I think that the two of you, I believe this absolutely, really have this karmic synchronicity that allows you to really meld together and be successful. So that ingredient is an understanding of a friendship that doesn't have boundaries, but comes together for the sake of the friendship. And so I'm going to ask the two of you, don't mess that up, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lynda, for
You're
those
welcome.
really for this really exciting chat. Like, it really opened my eye to a lot of things that you never really go and think about, right?
Good.
And yeah, we spent the last hour together. Wow.
Oh my
thank you so much
gosh.
for your
That was great.
time.
Thank you.
great.
Just, I want to leave you with this one thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Everything and all things are possible.